All right, I think the recording's starting. Hello, my name is Daniel Hamilton. This is my submission for the first progress demo for the project and portfolio class 1, specifically for the assignment for the game of life. I was just going to do a quick showcase of what I've done so far for this progress. As you can see here, I've implemented the main window to be initialized on init, not on constructor, and also calling the show function so it shows the actual window to the screen, which when you once we click that, we will see. But I would rather go through everything else first so you can see the whole breadth of it instead of just seeing one small bit. So we go to the next portion, which would be the main window. And the header file, I've made to where there's a default destructor, the default title, as you see right here. And I made sure that the copy constructor is no longer being used. It's actually deleted. Kind of following the rule of 3 situation with the draw panel being a pointer and a child member of the main window. Let's go to how it's being defined. It's being defined as stated in the actual instructions. There's nothing being pushed in for the window for the parent. It's just using any arbitrary ID. It's going to be using the game of life title that's been set forth in the header file. And when it's actually the window's being created, it's at the top left corner up here, as you see with the 00 here. Moving on to the actual size of it, the size of the window is going to be 200 by 200 pixels at the start. And once it's constructed, it goes through, the constructor is actually going to create a drawing panel in as a child of this main window. Let's move on to the drawing panel. Moving to the drawing panel, as you see here, the header file, it's got a little more of the members than actually what's stated, but we can get those shortly. Starting with the actual drawing panel actually takes in the main window as the parent for the parameter as far as construction goes, so that it knows that this drawing panel is a child of the main window. It's got the on paint functionality implemented. I've added some additions to it because I was seeing issues with drawing, which we can actually go through. Let's kind of go through that. All the other things will be explained shortly. So on construction, it actually sets itself to be a child of the main window, of course, and then it's set in the background sound to be painted, and having a binding event for painting. So it's calling itself every time on iteration, like a sequence loop, so to speak, for this event binding. Which I've tracked into the stack frame actually to see if it was working properly. And going forward to the on paint event, I'm doing exactly what was said. Just doing an auto buffer paint and clearing it. I've also noticed that when I was actually resizing the window, the window was not actually, the paint functionality was not refreshing itself. It was more or less like similar to like a TV or like when drawing a frame. There wasn't a clear buffer frame where it would actually refresh itself so it can take in more inputs for drawing. So it was just caching everything that was being drawn, making it look very messy when I would resize. So I used the refresh functionality once I looked into more into WX widgets and see how they would do that within this context. Speaking of context, moving on to going to the graphics context to create that, let's as stated, coming with functionality to escape the function the function if it's no longer being like created. So if there's something wrong going on with this WX widgets graphics context, it can't actually draw anything for it. It's going to give you a somewhat verbose message. Moving on to there, there's a default border being drawn around the whole drawing panel size, no matter what size it is, and setting the background to white. Moving from there, I'm getting the parent main window of the situation in its position and its size, and drawing the rectangle based on that. So there's going to be a border being created for the edges of this window for the drawing panel. And then from there, I guess I could talk about the algorithm that I used initially before we actually move to the next portion of the assignment, for solving the issue or dealing with the issue with having a 15 by 15 grid and having the window be able to resize itself and still at the same time show an even amount of grids or grid cells. Initially, I did not do a spread, so to speak. I had it in this, as you can see, from line 65 to 85 here. It was actually, as you resize the window, it would just create more grids that would fall in line the same square size. So it was just only showing extra grids as you resized it. It was not resizing it. To be honest, I think it's a little cooler looking that way, but I've realized that was not the point of the assignment, so commented out, but I kind of wanted to keep it because just it looked cool. But moving on to here, I've actually implemented what was requested in the actual assignment, where it would actually resize itself based on the size of the dimensions of the window, and the window and the panel was actually inheriting from the window because it's a child of it, so to speak. So it's actually taking for the Y, the current pixel Y. It's because it's not actually being reset, so to speak. In this double nested while loop, it stays outside the scope of there, but within the scope is actually the current pixel X, because for every iteration that we go through, every row that we go through each column. So we start from the first column of the current pixel being 0, pixel X being 0, and then actually incrementing it based on the grid cell width, which is being dynamically created based off the size of the window. So if with the grid cell width being like, maybe say you have 15 for the grid size, and then you have it's maybe 200 for the width of the window. It's going to divide that by 200 by 15, and then so forth and so forth if it gets resized. And every time, and it loops through this paint function and does it out every time. And it does the same thing for the Y. From there, I'm actually doing a little bit more flourish in the middle portion of the while loop, the nested while loop, and I'm actually doing something where I'm drawing a rounded rectangle and moving through colors. I'm cycling through a list of colors that are defined within the actual WX widgets. So I'm doing through like 8 colors, and it's kind of creating a little bit of a rainbow effect moving across the screen. And on top of that, because I realized that this functionality is being called on tick, instead of having to do some robust system with like timing and doing updates and delta time, I just did something where I did a tick frame and a tick delay. And also I would have, as you can see up here at right in the private function, private portion of this class, I actually have a tick delay that's being set, and you can set within a function from a different scope or a different class that has access to this. And I have a rect radius, and then I think that's it. So it's just looping through these 8 colors based on a certain tick delay that's being applied, and when I run it, you'll see what it looks like. All right, as you can see, they're rounded rectangles. They look kind of like little round beveled squares, but they're going through different colors. But now when I resize it, let me try to do that. All right, you can see it's resizing, still keeping the same amount of grids on there, and you can see the actual colors shifting across. and they're moving around in a fun, funky way. And if I wanted to, I can actually start changing some of the values. Not at runtime, so to speak, but I haven't got that yet. But I can do it on there if once I run it again. So let's just change, let's say the tick delay, not the tick delay, the tick delay for how quickly it shifts through them. Let's set it to like maybe 10. Let's make it 10. Let's see how fast it goes then. Yeah, it's going pretty fast. But it's cool. It's a cool little design going on. Yeah, so this is more or less what I kind of worked on. I've had fun with it. I think that's it from them. And again, it's Daniel Hamilton. This is my Game of Life progress demo for this week 1. And yep, that's it.